Hola. Um, I guess this one's going to be kind of a follow-up on one I did a while ago about spiritual warfare. I experienced some of the most, not intense, but one of the longest running episodes of spiritual warfare in my last relapse. And even before that, actually, for couple years before that. It's probably the most I had been targeted in quite some time. It's funny, the individuals, and I don't know all of them, I don't need to, nor do I know every detail, but what I do know is I know the burden of truth. See, at a very young age, I discovered that I had essentially what they call the gift of spiritual discernment. And I learned quite a bit about energy and magic and spell work and a bunch of other stuff. It's part of my heritage. And I know when I'm being targeted and I know when I'm being attacked. I can literally feel it. And maybe that was it. It was actually, I finally came up against adequate adversaries, we'll say. I knew what was going on the whole time. These people thought I was very naive and gullible. I knew what was going on and I allowed it to continue. I allowed myself to be an energetic battery. I could literally feel every single time this person would siphon. I knew basically almost every time they invaded my dreams and tried to attack me in that space. And I knew about the entity attachments, plural. Why exactly, I haven't been able to quite figure out, nor the motivation. I don't know if it was just their own thought or machination, or if they were put up to it. I don't think it matters at this point. It served a purpose. It reminded me of who and what I am. It didn't break me, but it broke me open. You know, I learned a long time ago with the burden of truth that oftentimes when you speak the truth, it would change the outcome. And that's the burden. Because with the gift of spiritual discernment, a lot of times you'll see not every detail. You'll get the broad strokes, at least I do. I get the broad strokes of the purpose behind certain encounters and interactions with people, certain events in people's lives, things like this. As far as the purpose goes, the spiritual growth behind it, the lessons that may or may not get learned. For lack of better terms, the divine plan. You know, the funny thing is about people who get into, we'll say, energy manipulation. It's a better term. Because people say spell work, magic, and they immediately think a negative connotation. Not everything has a malicious intent. More often than not, it has a selfish intent. There's a couple basic tenets to that. One is the universal rule of threefold. Every amount of energy you put out there comes back threefold. That's the way the universe works. In certain scenarios, it'll actually come back tenfold. In those particular ones, it's when you are trying to alter or maliciously affect somebody's free will. The devil doesn't even fuck with free will. Some people think they can. And if the person on the receiving end is unaware and allows it to happen, yeah, of course you can, for a short amount of time. You know, Newton was a genius, an ascended master in his own right. One of the laws of nature he discovered is that everything has an equal and opposite reaction. It's in his Mathematica. What does it say? Mathematica Prakritiya or whatever. I don't know. In his dissertation, for lack of better terms, about the laws of motion and energy and this kind of stuff. Anyway, where I'm going with that is this. You know, I've seen a lot of stuff in recent years about different types of binding. Rituals, spells, all kinds of stuff like that. And to me, it's basic knowledge, but I guess some people out there don't realize that, you know, if you're attempting to bind someone or someone's energy to you for your purposes, bindings work both ways. If you're successful, sure, you might have bound that person to you, but you also just bound yourself to that person. So, having now said that, these are things I probably should have spoke on during this season of my life. I chose not to. I chose to allow it to happen. I knew what was happening the whole time. I just didn't speak on it. I guess part of it was curiosity. Part of it was my intuition. My intuition said, no, don't. Let it. Because there were lessons in there. Part of that lesson was to remind me of my own power, what I'm capable of. Part of it was to teach this person that there are better ways. Part of it was just for this person to realize through certain lifestyle choices, things they had picked up that they may or may not have been consciously aware of, or if they were, they maybe were confused on its intent. I don't know. I've had several attachments myself, and I've had to get rid of them. The thing about that is it usually integrates itself so thoroughly that it's hard to discern oneself from it. And that's where the confusion comes in. So, you know, I've experienced a particular spiritual contract, we'll say. I'm not going to put some of the other more common labels on it. It is a very deep bond. Deepest I've ever experienced. It's not just physical or emotional or mental. It's, you know, at a soul level. It's, yeah, very intense at times. I have attempted many times to sever that connection, cut that cord. Divine won't let me. Just as I'm sure this person has done the same. Every time I try, it just goes back stronger. I give up trying to sever it. But I still feel this person daily. Even now. And I can usually intuitively tell where they're at emotionally or spiritually. I do know they've been going through some, what's commonly called dark night of the soul. I do what healing I can from here. Of course, it would be much easier if we were in contact. It's not the first person that I've healed remotely. Several, actually. Point being is, with this particular type of bond, what I did figure out how to do when I took my power back, when I finally said enough is enough, I'm no longer going to be an energetic battery. I don't know what the end goal was, but no, I'm done. That's when I felt the big shift, of course. Being the kind of person I am, and the type of spiritual experiences I've had throughout my life, and being an extremely intuitive, sensitive empath, I learned how to control energy flow in and out of me quite proficiently at a pretty young age. I had to, because I used to get completely overwhelmed. It's actually kind of one of the things that led to my addiction, was not being able to tell the difference between other people's emotions around me and myself, until I learned how to discern that and to change that flow. So I've been able to control the flow on this particular thread of connection. I allow enough. Of course, anytime I feel that the intentions aren't pure, or there's some other influence affecting that particular flow, I shut it down. Spiritual warfare takes many, many forms. It can be as sophisticated and complicated as a group of people performing a rite of ritual. I mean, and by that definition, if you walk into a church and watch Mass, that is a type of spiritual warfare. In my experience, most of the time, it's usually for some type of gratification. It's just a different form of going to an external source to fix an internal problem, which is a form of addiction, by definition, anyway. I guess the whole point to all of that is, you should be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And you should definitely be wary of anything that goes against someone's free will. Because because you never know when you might run into somebody like me who just won't say anything. And then in the blink of an eye, shut it all down. I've said it before. Most times when I run into these situations, which have been several throughout my life, I let people think I'm gullible. I let them think I'm naive and I don't know what I'm doing or I don't know what's going on. Most people play checkers. I play chess. I don't know why I was guided to put this message out there, but I am. So, have a blessed night.